fact that it popped up on YouTube where it's supposed to be. Hope so. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are doing stuff and things tonight. Yep. Yeah, it's there. Awesome stuff. Let me make certain we're live there. Huh? Yes, we are. Look at that. We're live. Very first episode of Science Sunday School. What's going on, guys? How are you? Can you hear me, Andy?
I can hear you just fine. I have a serious feedback loop taking place.
Uh-oh. Is it because you have the video up on your... You have video going on your end, our actual video on the YouTube? You might want to pause the video if you've got that going, or just do the pop-out chat.
I'm trying to get that stuff cleared up.
Yay! So, guys, this is the first official Science Sunday School. We're going to be working on the logo and
lost
stuff.
The pop-out chat. What the heck?
Needs
technical
intro
difficulties. Please stand by.
It needs intro music so I don't get scared. I need to figure out how to do that. I don't know how to do that. So there's still things that I'm learning how to do. Apparently I can schedule things. I can schedule these things and they work with the restream too. So I learned that today. So I learned that I can do more things than what I have been doing, which is really, really cool. Sunday school. Yes, this is Science Sunday School. So today we're going to talk about all the new stuff with vaccines. And so there's been all kinds of different measles outbreaks and things like that. So we're going to touch a bit on that. We're going to talk about new vaccines that are in research that are coming out soon. It's pretty exciting stuff. We're going to talk about the oh goodness, there's this particular vaccine that's indicative to South America that goes with a disease that's in South America. And it's a DNA vaccine. It's the Mayaro virus. So we're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to talk about a potential HIV vaccine. And we're going to talk about the craziness that's associated with the measles. So I'm going to just use my short intro. We'll get an actual different intro. We're going to use Andy's intro when we get that moved over, because he has a really cool intro that Gonna Go For It made for him. Peter did, so that's cool. So I'll use my little...
Peter is pretty awesome.
He is pretty awesome like that. So I'm going to use my little mini intro so we can get started. Hey!
Well, thank you, NANA. Very awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, NANA. One of my patrons. NANA, you're so awesome. Thank you so much for the super chat. I hate school, but let's see how this goes. So, really, really awesome of you, NANA. I need to probably have a little incentives and stuff if you do super chats. Maybe I'll sing a little song or something, Throw your name in there. Na, 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 na. Hey, hey, hey. You're awesome. Not goodbye, but you're awesome. Hello. Welcome to the show.
All right, fine. Let me use the real lyrics and I'll just screw everything up, I guess.
Oh, I often bust out in random songs, random tunes, dance tunes sometimes.
Well, you do have a pretty wonderful singing voice, so that's okay.
Oh, handy, handy, Andy. So I want to introduce Andy a little bit. If you're not familiar with Andy, Andy's actually an engineer. And so he kind of brings a really cool aspect to our Sunday Science School, our Science Sunday School. He has Sunday Science, I have Science Sunday School. And so he brings a whole new type of different way. While I'm a bit more theory, he's a bit more applied. So we'll get to do lots of cool things. He's a very hands-on kind of guy. So we might need to call him Handsy Andy. You know what I mean? Handsy Andy. Boy, that's kind of cheeky, isn't it?
A little bit.
Oh my goodness. So we'll be having lots of hands-on type of things and experiments and stuff. And so that'll be cool. But we wanted to talk about what the heck is going on with vaccines right now with the measles outbreak. So over in Washington State, there's like 55 cases right now. I was looking up a lot of this information with NPR. NPR was reporting that there's 55 cases. There are 3 different current outbreaks that the CDC is looking at. Now, it's important to note that when the CDC considers something an outbreak, there's at least 3 cases of the measles. So let's not start freaking out and running and screaming through the streets. It's not quite like that. But that's
it's not like people are dropping by the dozens. But it's still an issue. It's a public health concern. It is an issue, and it's a preventable issue that should have been eradicated when we really sat down and said this was eradicated in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Thanks to vaccination.
Yes. And so the one of the individuals, let me see, I want to get his name right because I was going through and I was like putting all this together. So NPR interviewed Dr. Alan Melnick. He is the director of public health for Clark County, and they were sitting there talking about it. And so they're being very careful not to blame parents for the lack of vaccination. But the majority of the cases of the measles outbreak is being seen in unvaccinated children under the ages of 10. Now, something we need to keep in mind about the measles, if you're not familiar with how contagious this is, okay? Let's say that Andy gets the measles, all right? I don't wish that on you, Andy.
Thank you. I would rather not get the measles ever.
Oh, let's say Andy gets the measles and he's like at his house, he goes to like a Trader Joe's. That's actually one of the hot spots for the measles reported in this list. If he goes to a Trader Joe's and he's in the contagious phase of the measles virus can hang out in the air for 2 hours after he leaves that particular building. So any infected person that's within the contagious stage can leave measles in the air, and anybody that happens to walk in that's not vaccinated can actually contract the measles just up to 2 hours after that person has left. So this is pretty horrible. This is actually pretty horrible.
Absolutely.
And so they actually have a list of places where there's high levels of where they know that people who contracted measles actually visited. And so they call them public exposure locations. So in Clark County, that includes doctor's offices, of course, schools, daycares, churches, a Trader Joe's, and a Walmart. And so any unvaccinated people who happen to go to these particular places would be exposed to measles and very likely contract that. So what what I think is interesting about the Trader Joe's, Andy? What, do you know what I think is interesting about it?
I'm curious to know.
Because, that's like one of those organic food places, and they always have like the supplements and the natural herbs and the things like that associated with, homeopathy and home remedies. Trader Joe's has a lot of stuff like that there. So I'm not entirely surprised that a single Trader Joe's, this is the Trader Joe's where all of the unvaccinated families go. You know what I mean? Because they're probably going to go and get some patchouli and a sage stick and try to eliminate the bad juju out of the house, So it's like, oh my goodness. Thank you, NA. Vaccines are used by the governments to control their subjects. Only their immunity so they don't get sick again. P. Mars, Baller, God of War. That's what he has to say. So it's meant to control herd immunity so people don't get sick all the time. So I found that to be particularly interesting. And what else is interesting? Vaccinations in Clark County, in that particular state, which is a high anti-vaxxer hotspot, is up 78%. It only takes like a natural disaster to get people to go, oh, hey, wait, measles is lethal, and children under 10 are the majority of carriers now and are contracting the measles. So what do you think about all that, Andy?
Well, that's definitely something that I would, it comes to mind to me quite a bit, and it's especially interesting to me that a state with a northern border to Canada is so prevalently strong with anti-vax ideology, because if you consider the rate of cattle that come across the northern border into the United States, because, we love our red meat that much, if you got rid of testing cattle for infectious disease, what would you wind up with? You would wind up with 370 some odd million people with tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And, measles was effectively eradicated from the United States as of 2000.
And that was
so here we are 19 years later. Yes, due to our vaccine regimen, we had effectively eradicated the measles in the United States. And here we are 19 years later. I mean, that's not even a full generation later. That's barely enough time to sit down and really go, holy crap, that's how little it takes for a virus to spawn to such an extent. It took 19 years, and now people are dying of something that we effectively had eradicated from our population in North America. That's pretty sad.
It is pretty sad. And see, the thing is, one of the strategies that Clark County is having to do now is to go and find out where all of the infected people have gone, and then they have to go back to that particular area. So if it's like a school, if it's a school where you've had an outbreak, which is at least 3 cases of measles, they have to go through and find out which children are not vaccinated and immediately go and say, you need to get your child vaccinated. So it's gone up 7-8%, but there's still some schools where vaccination is only at 40. So they still have a high risk of, keeping this particular outbreak around and it becoming an epidemic. So what I was looking for, go ahead.
And that's one of the, even if you have been vaccinated against certain things when you were a child, when they become outbreaks out on an adult level, you might not necessarily be vaccinated towards that particular strain of an ailment that's going around. So case in point for me, when I was a kid, there was no such thing as a meningitis vaccination. It didn't exist. So when I was 16, and I don't know how in the world I got it, but I contracted bacterial meningitis. I nearly died. It was absolutely horrible. I was under medical quarantine for 2 weeks. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. I would never wish that upon another human being in my life. Not even my worst enemy would I wish that upon, because of how horrible of an ailment that was, how horrible of an illness it was. It was horrible, to the point where I wanted to die. Yeah. It was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But now there's vaccines for it.
Yes.
And we can prevent that from taking place. We can not let our children go through this horrific pain now. Why would you not want that to be a part of your child's life? Why would you not want them to have the upper hand when it comes to their life? Because I almost died from meningitis, and not because of the disease, or not because of the virus. I actually had bacterial, so it wasn't viral. It was bacterial meningitis, but that's actually what made it worse. I wouldn't do that to my child. I wouldn't do that to my enemy's child. I wouldn't. That was so horrible. It was so painful. The biggest reason why I was probably going to die from it was because I was constantly pounding my head into a concrete wall trying to get that pain to stop.
Yeah. See,
Why
it's
would you
just,
not want to protect your own child from that? Why would you not want that?
all the myths that surround that, a lot of people, they'll sit there and go, well, it could cause autism. I'm sitting here and, you know what, y'all, we need to stop treating autism like it's some kind of
That's
horrible disease.
no,
Because
yeah,
it's
that's
not.
not what autism is, and there's
No.
absolutely no correlation between vaccinations and autism.
No, I mean
There,
the last 10-year study where it was a meta analysis, they went through and they looked and there's no correlation. It was involving, I believe, over 1 million children. It's the largest known meta analysis.
yeah,
At this
honestly, it
point.
wouldn't surprise me if there's a greater correlation to autism and
Hmm.
the accidental intake of
Petrofl-
petrochemical
the
compounds
petrofluorooctanoic
that
acid.
we wind up taking. Well, yes, that's one of them. Thanks to cooking software, cooking mediums such as nonstick pans where
Mhm.
you're eating polytetrafluoroethylene.
Well, I mean,
You
that's
know,
also if you're not
so
taking care of it. I mean, but to
well,
be
yeah. If
fair,
improper use, though, improper use of a tool. Let's be real
it
honest.
should be
We
fine.
are talking about humanity.
Yeah, and
The
proper use
improper
of
use of a
things.
tool is 99% of the use of a tool.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just one of the
even
things.
when it comes to the basics, don't get me wrong, but
Hmm.
I've used an adjustable end wrench as a hammer.
Hmm.
You know, we use tools incorrectly because it's efficient, it's effective, it's quick, it's
Yeah.
dirty, it gets the job done. Unfortunately, sometimes there are hydrocarbon molecules tied to that tool that chip off and break away and are very dangerous to us.
Yeah.
And we don't consider that
Hi.
because
Hi, everyone.
why in the world would we ever want to sit down and look at, I'm the reason this happened, when you can
Mm.
sit down and blame someone and say, you're the reason this happened?
Right. Well, I mean, it's easier to place blame on something else, but at the same time, there still needs to be more research to definitively prove that that thing isn't a problem. We did look at the
Well, yeah.
Cancer.org website, American Cancer Society. They don't have any
Yep,
definitive
I
proof of
still have
that.
that one up.
Yeah.
And
So.
when it comes to cancer, there's no
Hmm.
definitive, but as I was discussing with you earlier, there's
Hmm.
never been a long-term study effect on
Hmm.
how it is that PFOA or PTFE
Hmm.
affects the body, outside of
Hmm.
the fact that it's both of those chemicals are known to cause birth defects.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Well.
since there haven't been long-term studies, just being known to cause a birth defect is kind of the same way as saying, well, smoking weed causes birth defects. Well, yeah,
Well, I
that's,
mean,
we can
there's.
recognize that, but having studied it is different.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and there are some cases where there's been cases of cancer with people who have worked around the particular chemical factories where the PFOA, that's one of the chemicals associated with making the Teflon in the pans,
Yes.
is that there are some cases, but they can't definitively link it just yet. But you're right; they should do more studies on that and to
Yeah,
definitively
if
rule that
there were
out. So
long-term studies, there might
hmm.
be some sort of linkage, but certain companies happen to be oh so powerful, and
Hmm. So we have somebody in the chat that's saying measles has always been accepted as a part of the growing up process as much as a part of childhood as stubbed toes and dirty hands. Well, here's the thing. Also in Australia, they had a lot. Oh gosh, we have a lot of people there. We got probably the same person spamming it. Here's the thing. Polio used to be part of a childhood thing growing up.
mhm.
Non-scientific publication, just because if it's a personal perspective doesn't make it correct. Also in the 60s, it was absolutely okay to sexually harass women in the workplace. So that was just part of a lady working at her job, was to be harassed by the dudes, and if she wanted to make it to the top, she knew what she had to do. So we can't really base public perception at a particular time frame as
No, not at
being
all.
something that's supposed to happen, because
Not
it
at all,
doesn't make it
especially when you
accurate.
consider the fact that so being in engineering and having, being an American citizen and working in America the entire time, there's this funny joke about why we still use the imperial system, and it's because there's two types of countries on this planet, those that use the metric system and those that went to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in reality, it's because of women that we got to the moon. It has nothing to do with our unit of measure. It has nothing to do with
Katherine Johnson.
anything
It was
other
her
than the
birthday.
fact that
It was her birthday a few days ago.
we had amazing women behind the scenes running the formulas, being the... Today you don't buy a calculator because that's what we decided that tool was going to be called. That was a job. That was a physical job description for primarily women at that time. And it's because of women we got to the moon. It has nothing to do with which unit of measure we used.
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that there were a multitude of women behind the scenes running the calculations, doing the math, having the job of a calculator.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's why we got to the moon.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I have somebody in the chat who's looks like it's probably the same person with sock accounts saying, here's the thing. Okay, so I'm talking about...
it looks like Bo and Nana are all over the sock account assholes. Thank you, guys. Bo and A, you guys are awesome. Just got to give you a quick shout out. You guys are great.
Yes, they are. They're both fantastic people. Something I want people to kind of keep in mind in regard to measles, early symptoms. Okay, there's a stage where you're highly contagious, and here's the thing: while you're during that highly contagious stage, now Dr. Melnick, who is again part of public health, he discussed that if somebody with measles is around a bunch of people who are unvaccinated, 90% of those people will become ill. 78% vaccination isn't quite enough to stop transmission. You need it all the way up to about 90% in order to have like good solid herd immunity. And so while they're only at 78% right now, they are working towards vaccinating up to 90%. But like I said before, there are some schools that are around only 40% vaccinated. So you're contagious when right before symptoms manifest, and then when you get the measles, runny nose, cough, fever, red, pink eyes, you're still contagious there, and you're still contagious after the rash appears for several days. You may not even know you have measles when it starts out. Andy, there he is. Where is he going? Lost Andy for a second. So,
sorry, I'm back.
It's okay. So what they essentially have to do is, right now with Clark County, they're trying to knock this out as best they can. Now, Washington is one of 17 states that allow philosophical exemption for vaccination. And when Dr. Melnick was asked if this was a mistake, he responded in this way. He said the vast majority of exemptions are personal or philosophical. California got rid of this personal exemption, especially a few years ago with the Disneyland outbreak. So that personal exemption is not allowed anymore in California. And there's actually a website for Washington. You can, at the Department of Health website, you can look at the interactive map and see the immunization rates of any school at any time in the state. So it's pretty interesting that this is coming out. Basically, the message that he's trying to get out is that this disease is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And we need to protect children in regard to this, because that's the majority of the people that are actively being infected by this. So you need to not only think the safety of yourself and your children, but you need to think about protecting people around you. Not vaccinating your child it's not just a personal choice. It's also a choice that affects other people who don't have the option of being vaccinated. Those who have allergies to certain things that are within the vaccine, those with autoimmune disease, those with HIV, those are with immunosuppression, those with cancer. They can't take vaccines because of their suppressed immune systems. And so it's not just a choice that you're making for your child, but it's also a choice that's going to affect other people. So keep that in mind, because it was completely eradicated in 2000. Now, somebody was mentioning the 1960s. I have some statistics for you. Let me pull those up.
Well,
All right.
well, since it was already brought up with, immune disabling ailments such as HIV or other autoimmune, I shouldn't say other autoimmunes, but autoimmune disorders as well. I believe there was something recently in the news about a potential vaccination that could actually have a positive effect when it comes to the HIV virus. Do you have some more information on that we can chat about?
Yeah, I do. So, yes. Real quickly before we go to that.
I didn't mean to segue you by any means.
It's okay. It's okay. So when somebody was mentioning the 1960s, we had 400 to 500 deaths from measles every year in the 1960s. There were close to 50,000 hospitalizations every year for measles. There are about 4,000 people who had measles encephalitis, which is essentially like the swelling of the brain, like you had the bacterial encephalitis. This is a measles-based one. It can cause permanent damage, including deafness, permanent brain damage as well. It's incredibly serious disease, and it can have a lot of complications. And they already have in Washington State one child hospitalized from the measles outbreak. So in 1960s land, it was pretty crappy to live in that land. So, if you want to go back there and get measles and have a party with that, man, go for it. But, keep that in the 60s. Don't bring it with you.
I just have to ask, is that when America was great?
Yeah, weren't they great?
When we were dying by the thousands due to ailments that could easily be prevented?
Oh my goodness. Preventable diseases. And this was 100% preventable. It absolutely was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And Dr. Melnick confirms that. It was absolutely 100% preventable. So, hey, measles party, why not have a vaccination party? Take all your kids to go get vaccinated, go get some ice cream and have a party later. Make that fun.
Right, a little bit of soreness and redness around the point of injection is a lot better than potentially dying.
Yeah, for real.
If there would have been a meningitis inoculation that I could have gone through prior to having contracted it that would have prevented it, sign me the heck up. I would have been there in a heartbeat.
Right.
But at the time when I contracted that bacterial infection, there was nothing that could be done about it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of
for you
might get sick and you might die. And, I got sick. I didn't die. Awesome.
Man.
But had there been a vaccine for it, that was horrible.
That would have been
nice. That was absolutely horrible.
I'm very sorry you went through that, Andy.
It's part of life.
Oh, it's part of life, growing up. Preventable.
Well, that happened when I was 16, so it's been a little while.
Oh, goodness. So the vaccine you're talking about, so there's new interesting stuff that's happening in the vaccine world. And one that we were talking about is essentially Science Daily reports that there's an HIV vaccine that protects non-human primates from infection. And so HIV research is now moving towards developing vaccines. It's a new HIV strategy where they actually take a non-viral form of HIV and induced antibodies. And I believe these are the macaque monkeys, the rhesus macaque monkeys. They were able to successfully induce antibodies that prevented these monkeys from being infected by the more virulent HIV tier 2 strand. So this is pretty promising. They're trying to see if they're able to take this type of medical science and apply it to humans and see if they can do that. But they're going to see first if they can do this in other animals. And so primates, you have to keep in mind, primates have a different type of HIV than people. And so they used the monkey version of the HIV tier 2. It's called SHIV, and they put that into the monkeys, and it was the non-virulent form where they were able to get the immune system to recognize this particular baddie, invader, and develop antibodies to where they ended up attacking the actual infectious version of this virus. And so this is pretty freaking exciting. And so this is new stuff here. So I'm actually pretty excited about it. They are trying the whole goal of
that's actually really amazing and kind of monumental science when it comes down to it. It really is.
See, it's pretty interesting because what it's trying to do is there's portions of the HIV virus on its protein coat on the outside that they're trying to identify, because HIV, it changes so much, it's hard to get a vaccine down. But there are portions that are kind of vulnerable, a bit more vulnerable. And so they're trying to identify those portions to see that translates into the human version. They're able to initiate antibodies to attack those portions of the virus. So,
I almost wish I would have taken the time to have recorded something from sitting down and being able to listen to R and Raw today. Mm-hmm. Because it goes back to that bacterial level where there are things that you can do, but sometimes it gets drawn into question as to whether or not you should or should not.
Yeah.
He had a very, very good explanation for it. I'm not going to take his words. I'm not going to, I just don't do things like that. So, but yeah, it was pretty awesome being able to sit down and go see R and Raw live today, and then sit down and have this show with you where the same sort of thing is being pulled up, and it's like, stop listening to the politicians, listen to the scientists. Like, do you honestly think that there's a politician with an academic degree out there? No.
There's not that many scientists in Congress, but there are now. They've got
there's more than there were.
They're more than, and they're mostly women. Yay! Yeah.
Who would have ever thought?
Who would have thought, man?
Women are smart, and they're driven, and they do stuff that's awesome, and it's great.
We know stuff and do
society.
things.
Like, it wasn't cool enough that you create life.
Yes.
Now you're going out there and protecting it too.
Awesome. It's so exciting. So it's pretty cool where they've got this new type of HIV vaccine. If you want to check it out, if you want to read the study, it was published in December 14th. It's with the Scripps Research Institute. Just Google HIV vaccine protects non-human primates. Science Daily. It's pretty much open access. You're able to read it. It's pretty straightforward. It doesn't, it's not too heavy. And if you have any questions about it, you can always hit me up, Twitter, ask us questions in the comments. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. There's also, don't know if you guys know about DNA vaccines. Anybody out there know about DNA vaccines? Those are pretty cool things that are coming up now. DNA vaccines. What do you think DNA vaccines do? Andy, what do you think they do?
Ooh. Well, I would
off the fly
sit down off the fly. I would sit down and I would say my assumption of those words would have something to do with taking a look at our actual molecular structures, our biological structures, and going, these are traits that lead towards Alzheimer's, or these are traits that lead toward cancer. And we're going to catalog them, we're going to map them, we're going to document them, and we're going to try and come up with some sort of a graph that says, due to these genetic traits, you have X percentage of a disposition towards this unfortunate, genetic disposition later in life.
Right.
That is what I would presume from that statement.
Right.
I don't know if I'm correct in that, but that's how I hear it. So Your turn?
Well, for me, okay, so DNA vaccination is all pretty cool. So for me, what I know about DNA... Oh, okay, Owen. Owen just popped this up. DNA vaccination is a technique for protecting against disease by injection with genetically engineered DNA, so cells directly produce antigen, producing protective
Immunological response.
That word, yeah. So that's exactly right, Owen. Ding, ding, ding.
Well done, Owen.
Yeah, I don't have a bell. I will give you a Darth Vader. Good job. You get a TIE Fighter Darth Vader sound right there. Good job, Owen. That's awesome. So, essentially what's happening is, yes, you have a plasmid. You have genetically engineered DNA plasmid that in this particular study, it's, what is the name of that virus? I want to call it by its not right name, Mayaro virus. So the Mayaro virus,
Mayaro, yeah. I think it's typically referred to as the Yaro virus, isn't it? That, like, the M is silent.
Mayaro.
Or is that something else that I'm thinking of?
It might be something else. It's also called the May-V virus. May-V virus.
I'm probably thinking of the wrong thing. Never mind. Mm-hmm. Ignore me.
It's all right. You know, we learn things on here.
I'm an engineer. I'm not a biologist.
It's like, damn it, Jim, I'm an engineer, not a biologist, or a virologist, or an immunologist, or,
Yeah, I work with non-organic stuff, not organic stuff.
No, you work with F and D orbitals. I hate those.
Why? I'm sitting here looking at my chart of the nuclides. It's behind my screen right now, and I'm like,
oh, goodness.
Why does she hate the middle of all of it? Because that's like where everything comes from that I work with.
Just not my jam, man. So...
Well, that's why I brought up the idea of doing a show about combustible metals, because I wasn't talking about metal salts this time. I've done that in the past.
Did NA do another 10? Because I still have a 10 at the top. I wonder, did NA do another 10? I think so.
Oh, I don't know.
If you did, thank you.
Yeah, that was part of my suggestion for combustible metals, was because as opposed to going to metal salts, they could go directly to elemental metals, and why it is that certain ones are much more flammable, including my favorite metal in the world, titanium.
See, I think of that song, "You shoot me down, but I won't fall. I'm a titanium." That's like a, shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Do. Now I have that in my head, and I'm trying to science.
Well, I've embedded in my hands as sliver form and splinters and all the rest. So
you and your sliver titanium. That sounds like some kind of punk band. Sliver Titanium.
You know, it kind of does.
Sliver Titanium. Yeah, I'm gonna go see Sliver Titanium down at the Murphy's bar. You know, it's like Sliver Titanium is playing. But yes, anyway, okay. So back to vaccines.
Yeah, my bad.
It's okay. So we're going with the Mayaro virus, or also known as May-V virus. This particular virus is endemic in South America. And it's a mosquito-borne virus. And, mosquitoes suck. They're just terrible. And they carry all of these different kinds of diseases. We've got West Nile. We've got malaria. Now we have Mayaro, or May-V virus. So what they managed to do is they've gotten this engineered DNA plasmid. And so how they do it, they inject it, and then it looks like, in this particular case, they add a little bit of electrical impulses, like kind of zap a little electricity there into the injection area to try to encourage the cells to uptake this DNA. And so the whole idea is the cells then use this DNA and make the antibodies that go and attack the Mayaro virus. Well, the thing that's really cool about this is that they were pretty successful in preventing infection and an emerging Mayaro virus infection. Somebody on Periscope, is this the anti-vax? No, it's not. We are all about vaccines, and if we could have a party, I would get pizza for people and be like, go and vaccinate your kids, then let's go eat some pizza and ice cream. We make it
honestly,
a big old party.
if some of the vaccines that are available today were available when I was a child, I would have signed up for them, like voluntarily.
It's really sad. There's actually a section, there's like a subreddit where kids are going and trying to figure out how they can get vaccinated with their parents not knowing.
I've seen that.
It's just horribly sad. It's just
I don't want to say that
sad.
I've directly seen what you're talking about, but I have seen the fact that exists. Like that's. I don't know.
No, we're not anti-vax. We are all for vax. We're nothing but science here.
Yes.
Vaccinations
are actually beneficial to the human populace. They are good for civilization. They are good for everything humanity based. Now, if you don't like humanity and you want us to all die a horrible, painful death, go ahead and well, I don't know. You'd have to go so far as to not eat food. Yeah. So you'll probably starve to death before you would actually contract an ailment. But like I said earlier, with the ways that we sit down and do basic inspection of cattle coming across the border to enter into our food supply.
Yeah.
One of the primary thing that is looked for is tuberculosis.
Yeah.
And
TB.
people forget TB.
Still around.
It's still around, and it's cattle-borne right now.
Yeah. And there's still
it wasn't
a lot of
always,
inner cities.
but now it is.
There's still inner cities across the U.S. that still have tuberculosis. One of the things I think in one of the cities nearby, in order to be an educator and be a teacher there, you have to get a TB test and show you don't have it. So it's kind of like it's just TB and leprosy are cousins, man.
Yeah, and it's horrible to think that we're a couple of hours away of someone not doing their job.
Yeah.
To have an outbreak of such monumentous size and scale and reach, it's
getting scary.
It really makes you thankful for all the USDA employees that are at the border checking cattle and doing a really kind of gross job. And I wouldn't want to do it personally, but I'm glad somebody's doing it. And the same kind of thing takes place with a lot of ailments that people are vulnerable to. There's a multitude of people out there that are behind the scenes that no one ever thanks, that no one ever sits down and gives credit to, that are actually keeping us from getting sick.
True.
And they're putting in their 9 to 5 every day, probably more like 7-10s.
Yeah.
And they're doing that so that we don't get sick, and that's awesome.
That is awesome.
That really is awesome.
Something I think is really interesting, and somebody I talk to from time to time, Dr. Janaway, he's he and we follow each other on Twitter. We've been talking about different collaborations and stuff, so give him a follow. He's very pro-vaccination, and he was talking about how instead of constantly trying to make fun of anti-vaxxers, we should go the route of trying to educate them and try to get them to understand why is it that you think this is bad. So I don't often have really positive direction type of good progress-making conversations with anti-vaxxers. I have a really hard time, not because I'm rude, just because the cognitive bias is so strong. They are so convinced. It's so hard to talk to them. But there's a new study that's come out that works on training parents as immunization advocates. This is a promising approach to vaccine hesitancy. This is essentially what it is. Anti-vaxxers are hesitant to get vaccines, but you have people that are kind of sitting on the fence. You may not be able to convince the anti-vaxxer people until they have a child die from measles. Then that might be the case. But This is essentially education for people who are on the fence, who are not certain. And so in Washington State, okay, so I'm trying to find this information, and you can, if you Google, and I tweeted about it. So if you follow my Twitter, you can go check out, and I posted this link there. And what they did is that they do overall trust doctors, but second, oh, thank you, Vibrantly Brantley. Vibrantly.
Oh, thank you, Vibrantly.
That's so nice. I like that, and I appreciate it. I need to figure out what I can do for like my super chats, like, you know, $5 and $10. I sang to Nana a little bit, or NANA. What do I do for Vibrantly Brantley? Maybe I like come up with, maybe I could come up with like limericks or something. Come up with a poem on the fly. I don't know. I have to think about it.
What would you think about maybe doing a scientist sing along that is, as opposed to you just doing karaoke, maybe you and I do a karaoke song together.
Oh, we could do that. You know, the thing is,
when's the last time you were down to the docks, working hard for a pay?
Oh no. Okay, so if we have to sing, we can't have any background music because YouTube will get mad at me. Let me finish this, and we'll sing a song.
Well, we could do a spoken word version.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can sing. We just can't do. We can't do like play any background music because YouTube gets mad. They get really mad at me for being so, you know, myself.
And I'm not even suggesting we do that tonight. I'm just saying that's a thing we could do.
Okay, we'll think about it. All right, so this particular study focused on developing an online community, kind of like Facebook, because a lot of these people are getting their information from social media. And so they developed something called Immunity Community, which is like an outreach kind of Facebook type of group that brought in people to help educate them and ask them, you know, what do you think the things are associated with anti-vaxxers and, you know, or why do you not want to vaccinate, and try to empower them and give them information. But they didn't demonize anti-vaxxers. They were very careful to not do that. So they were able to handle that. Did I get another? Did you do Take My Money, Please? Oh my goodness, that's funny. All right, so that's the cool thing about that, and they found that it was very effective. And so you can take a look. It was essentially what they did is they took Immunity Community and implemented it in 2 different communities: a suburban school district outside of a major metro area and a small city in a rural county. So they had parent advocates that were engaged in a variety of immunization positive activities. So social media advocacy, they had hosting school events, passing out immunization material. So they got parents involved, talking to other parents. And they weren't demonizing anti-vaxxers. They went a completely different route and utilized parents to be advocates. So it's really freaking awesome. And so they're finding a lot of, that was a quite successful study. So if you didn't check it out, you can have a look and hear about Immunity Community, which, you know, just flows so well. I mean, how can you not market that brilliantly? The Immunity Community coming to a place like a school near you. I mean, it just is brilliant and perfect. Pin the tail on the donkey with vaccine needles. Probably not totally that way, because I can't think that would be safe. So, you know, seems to be a combination of religious beliefs and homeopathic philosophy. Yes. So something along the lines of Animaniacs. All right, you want to sing a song? We can try to sing a song. We got some
Algeria. No, I'm not even about to try.
That's a good job in the city, working for the man every night and day.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, how are you with Johnny Cash?
Well, you know, I have been working on my Johnny Cash a little bit.
You have? All right.
Well, yeah, you know, since the last time that I was hanging out with you in Kansas City.
Yes, yes. When we went to the science museum there, that was fun.
Yes, that was a lot of fun. We got to build carbon nanotubes.
Yes, it wasn't quite accurate because it didn't have interatomic forces.
Well, those probably would have torn our bodies to bits, so we had to do the best we could with foam blocks.
Foam blocks. They need to be a bit more sticky. They need to be sticky to each
They,
other.
they should have been wood.
Yeah, that would have been
At
better.
least, I mean, there would have been at least enough rigidity that they would have stayed together.
Yeah, but then you got a wood around a bunch of kids, and somebody's gonna throw it. You know they're gonna throw
Yeah,
it.
and someone's going to get a splinter, and then they're going to cry, and all sorts of stuff.
And
Back
you
in
beat
my
me.
day,
You
we
beat
walked
me.
uphill both directions to do science with blocks of wood.
Oh my goodness! And you beat me at the airplane thing.
Well, I've worked in aerospace for a long time.
See, he
and
had
I've
an
made
edge.
airplanes.
He
and
had an edge. I had only thrown paper
I've made,
airplanes.
parts of the Curiosity rover and the Phoenix lander, and
Yeah, it's just
spare parts of mine went on to New Horizons because we
see,
already made them once. We don't need to make them again.
goodness. Now you're just bragging.
Yes, I am. I absolutely am.
He's just bragging now.
I am proud of what I have built.
You should be. That's an absolutely amazing accomplishment. So, Sunday Science Sunday School. I do a super chat for Johnny Cash Hurt. Oh, we can do that. You do a super chat. We'll sing Johnny Cash Hurt.
Oh, really?
Why not, man?
Am I getting pulled into Hurt?
Yes. Yes. And while we're chilling, man, he is a show off. So while we're chilling, what do you get? What kind of things would you guys like to see with Science Sunday School? I think we mostly talked about the vaccine stuff. We didn't talk about the flu shot. Oh my gosh,
we didn't get to the flu shot.
we didn't even get to the flu shot. Oh my gosh, guys.
We only barely covered anything when it comes to the HIV potential vaccine.
Yes,
and honestly, there's so much biological science behind that it probably deserves its own show.
Yeah, it
from
probably
my
does.
standpoint.
We could talk a lot about
it's-
that. I have done a show on HIV, the history of it and all that. You have to make a few phone calls. Okay, thanks, Vibrantly Brantley. It was so cool to see you. You're hearing Rocket Man in the background. Maybe we're just tuned in on that, But, so, flu shot, whiskey, bring it. Oh my goodness. So the flu shot's really pretty cool. They have something, if you go to the CDC website, I got to tell you about this because it's just really awesome.
Let me see if I can actually.
If you go to the CDC
I should
website.
be able to pull this up and share my screen. Let me make sure I'm on the right one before I do that.
So the CDC website has something called Flu Site, where they actually go through and they track and they're able to show you what their predictions are for the 2017-2018 flu season, and they were pretty freaking accurate. So they're able to predict the type of virus, flu virus, that would be prevalent. Now you can
I know
actually.
where this is when it comes to Hangouts. I don't know where it is on the screen, so.
It's okay.
Where in the hell?
It's okay.
Share
So
my screen.
the thing that's really cool about the CDC website, you can go through it and they get into all the details of the statistics that's associated with how they predict which particular virus they're going to get a flu shot for. But they show, it's like last year, the majority of people who suffered from the flu virus were between the ages, I believe, of 50 and it was 64. And that was where they saw a prevalent amount of actual diagnoses of the flu. But interestingly enough, and something you would expect is, and there was, it was like 12,000, I think it was 12,000 people at the time that had been diagnosed. Was it 12,000 people? It was around 12,000 people. And approximately But only 200 of those people were actually hospitalized within that age group. But then you get into like 65 and older. There was about 10,000 cases of the flu for that age group, but over 1,000 of those people were hospitalized. But you would expect that because they had suppressed immune systems. The elderly do. They have weakened immune systems compared to the others. So, but it's pretty interesting. And in 2013, the CDC had a contest. Oh, you messed up my screens, man. Okay. So that's weird. All right. Something has happened. So he's completely... I wasn't prepared for that, Andy. Oh my goodness. I wasn't prepared for that. Oh goodness. Let me go back to this. Okay, here we go. So I wasn't totally prepared for that. And I can't hear you now.
That's because I didn't have my thing down. Frickin' gaming headsets. I always forget.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's not too late. You can get the flu shot. I'm going to go get it because I hear it's just absolutely terrible and I don't want it. Didn't you have the flu?
You know, I spent the last 4 days from Monday through Thursday, I did not work. I did not even leave my house because of how bad I had the flu.
Yeah,
it was absolutely horrible. It was disgusting. It was not fun. I was bouncing between 102 and 101.5 for 4 days.
Oh, wow.
With a fever. It was absolutely miserable.
That does sound horrible.
It was not okay. I mean, every hour and a half, I would wake up so drenched in sweat that I was like, I want to change my sheets. I want to change my pillowcase. I want to change my clothes. But I'm so cold, I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like laid there in horrid, not fun times.
Yeah, you make me want to take a shower right now.
Yeah, it was gross. It was terrible. And then I would finally get up. I'd go and take a shower like Monday evening. I went and I hopped in the shower and I was still in the midst of like the vomit stage of being with the flu. So, yay! Let's hop in the shower and everywhere. Awesome. This is so much fun. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how great that was.
Wow. Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah. And yeah, finally Friday I was able to make it to work and not get sent home.
Yeah. That's like, oh God. I had the flu once in 2005 and I had 105 fever 2 nights in a row. And I spent 2 nights in the emergency room. Just laying there feeling horrible. And it's just nasty.
Yeah, it's so funny that we call so many like variations of stomach bugs the flu.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, I got sick because, you know, and it's like, yeah, we call it the flu. And no.
Yeah.
Influenza and the rhinovirus, basically, no correlation. They're not the same. They're not even close.
You know what I can do, if you're wanting to take a look at the site, I can pull it up on a separate monitor and bring it up. But really quickly, if you haven't checked it out, in 2013, the CDC actually had a contest for people to try to accurately predict the number of cases of the flu from 2013 2014. There was a $75,000 reward, and you had to use a hashtag. So apparently that was the thing. Like, how did I miss that? How awesome would that have been to be completely involved with trying to predict when the flu,
especially with your proximity to, you know, children's research, like it's not like you're out in the boom where there's nobody doing any sort of medical research. Right. You're
Yeah,
right,
I'm just
like
swinging my
you're at a
arrows.
hub of medical
I
research.
really
It's
kind of am. So it's pretty interesting. So I was just like,
That's
oh my
really
gosh,
awesome.
you
It's
know,
you
that
know
would have
I'm
been
I'm at a
cool.
hub
Oh,
of aerospace research, so that's mostly
so
what I
that's
deal
your
with.
jam.
But
I'm gonna put my hood on, man.
you're totally at a hub of medical research,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing. That is so awesome.
Yeah, it just would have been really, really cool if I had seen that. I've been like, oh my gosh, man, I would have been like pulling out all kinds of predictions. I'm like, where are my statisticians at?
Right?
We can do this together. Come on, guys. And now
Hey,
it's like,
everybody that
man.
majored in math and still has no job.
Yeah, come talk to me. That's like $75,000 from the CDC and a
Sorry, I
recognition.
I have friends who majored in math, and yeah, it's I have friends that majored in English as well, and they
Mm-hmm.
both work the same field.
Ah, yeah.
It's called the service industry.
Mm. Well, there you go. There you
I,
go.
I don't know what to do with that one.
That's okay.
That's why I became an engineer.
Cute hoodie. Here's the question: is it a hoodie or is it a onesie? We play
Oh,
this
that's
game
totally a
often.
onesie.
Well, you know because I told you. You're not allowed to play, Andy. Gosh.
I'm not. You didn't have to tell me for me to know that that was a onesie.
You didn't know right off. Kind of does look like a hoodie. How do you
All
know?
onesies look like because there's a certain feel about a onesie.
But I have hoodies that are furry too.
I know.
I have furry
I
hoodies.
have hoodies that look like onesies.
Okay. See?
I even used to sell them as part of like my business that I used to run.
Okay. Well, this is a onesie and it has feet.
Oh, let me see the feet.
Yeah, you're supposed to. You want to see the feet?
Yes, I want to see the footed onesie.
This isn't that kind of show, Andy.
Okay, fine.
By him hill. But yes, okay. So it's footed. Footed onesie.
It is totally footed. Oh my gosh, that's a onesie.
Yeah, it's
There's
totally
no
footed.
question.
By him hill. Thanks for being here. But yes, it's a onesie. It has pockets. It's great.
You have a
I'm all-
onesie with pockets?
Yes, I have a couple onesies with pockets. I have like 3 with
My
pockets.
onesie doesn't have pockets.
I'm sorry. You didn't
Granted, my
wear.
onesie did come with a space shuttle, so
Yes, your
I
onesie
got
came
that going for me.
You do have that going for you, and you didn't wear it today, so.
Well, it wasn't the onesie front unveil thing tonight.
Maybe that's next Sunday.
Maybe it will be.
Maybe next Sunday. Oh my goodness, this is funny. So, what would you guys? You totally want to see the feet? I joke about footy pajamas. Well, it's sport footy pajamas, cool meter maxed. What? I do, and you can remove the feet. You can actually remove the feet. I did take the feet off one day, but it's weird because the way it's a zipper, and so you can unzip it. I don't like that because the zipper part, when you're lying down, your pants want to slide up. Well, with this particular onesie, the zipper portion, because it was sliding up, it was cutting into my legs. I'm like, God, this is
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. So I put the feet back on, but I wanted to wear my polka dot onesie, man. Yeah, I have a bunny
All
one
right.
too. I have a bunny one. I have a Totoro one. I have a red panda.
Well, I only have one onesie, and it happens to be an astronaut, and you happen to have gotten it for me. So
I did. I got you an astronaut
maybe,
onesie.
maybe on the next Sunday Science School show,
Andy can be
since we're
bought.
combining my show of Sunday Science and your for Patreons only Sunday Science School show, maybe next week I will get a wild hair up my arse, and I will wear my astronaut onesie that you got me.
See, Andy can be bought, guys. You can buy Andy for the price of an astronaut onesie and a toy space shuttle. I'm just saying.
I have no defense argument.
He can be bought. You want to know how to buy Andy? Come talk to me. You can buy Andy. All right. Somebody's like, you want to see the
Oh
feet?
my
Here's
gosh.
the feet. Okay. Don't tell Mrs. Snarky. Oh gosh, man. Yeah, I do have. It has ears and everything. It's a bunny onesie, and then I have like a cheetah print one, and I have a purple one. I wore my purple one this morning on the show. We didn't play. Is it a hoodie or onesie on the science stuff this morning?
I didn't get the morning show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That was a bummer. I was sleeping, but
okay.
Recovering from the flu as well.
Saturday morning. It was Saturday morning. That felt so long ago.
I was at work Saturday morning.
You were at work Saturday morning.
I was.
So next Sunday, I'm trying to figure out. We're gonna do a show.
Well, you have to remember with my engagement with Aaron Ra today, there's a possibility that he might be on the show with us. So,
well, not this Sunday, but he did agree. Well, so yes,
he did say that Aaron Ra did say that he would enjoy being on the show with us. So,
yay!
That is something to look forward to in the future when it comes to Sunday Science School, because I think it would be a lot of fun to have Arn and potentially RJ talk about evolution and all of the science behind how we understand what it is and why it is, and that it's an actual thing. Because I had an absolutely amazing time this evening.
That's wonderful.
This afternoon. Hanging out, listening to Aaron Ra talk about the Tree of Life project that he's working on. That was fucking phenomenal.
That's amazing.
He has agreed to be on the show, and he thinks it sounds like a lot of fun. So,
awesome.
Maybe something to look forward to in the future, that we get Aaron Ra on here, and we can have some discussion about how it is that we can biologically understand evolution.
Yes.
Because he, outside of arguing with Kent Hovind and Ken Ham, he is actually a very qualified scientist.
Yes. He's very good. So I'm excited about that.
I am too. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
The hour of no pauses. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Hello, Godless Iowan. So, oh goodness.
Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, and he's already agreed to being on the show. So that's awesome. That's just absolutely awesome.
So we have that exciting stuff to come. So
we do.
So we will be doing more like experimental stuff. Andy is going to be doing stuff on his end, and I'll be sitting here going, wow, like, when he burns things. So
well,
like,
we're
gonna burn.
Sometimes when you want to talk about elemental metals and why it is that they're combustible, you might want an analytical chemist sitting down going, this is why this is so susceptible to this particular situation.
Oh goodness. Talk Bunny Suit and GI magically shows up. Good buddy radar. Maybe I'll have my bunny suit on next time. My bunny onesie. I do have a bunny onesie, but then you would know we can't play. Is it a onesie or? Onesie. It's just we can't play bunny. Is it a hoodie or a onesie? So you missed most of the show. Did they prove vaccines are bad? No, we do the opposite. Oh my gosh! I'm a mean person, Di. You said in a Twitter DM, she's such a mean person. I went and helped her. I'm clearly like a mean person, and everybody is just paid to be my friend because I can't possibly make friends on my own.
So
Cy pays Andy to be my friend. I'm pretty certain.
I was going to say, it cost a little bit of money to go to New Orleans and do Spirited Science.
It did, but that was cool, though.
It was awesome. We got to hang out and go to museums.
Yeah.
We got to learn things.
Met Monty. Monty's awesome.
Yeah, we got to hang out with Monty from Monty and Hannibal Shit Show.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And I missed making a video
I'm randomly
going to
plug people.
Work. Oh, Monty and Hannibal plugs my channel all the time. So
Monty and Hannibal have a great show. If you guys aren't already watching, I suggest you go and subscribe and take a watch, because Monty Hannibal are absolutely hilarious.
They really are, and they're
They
great.
have a great show. You would love it.
Yep, yep. You would love it. Oh, goodness. Vibrantly
Oh,
Brantley.
thank you, Vibrantly.
Thank you. I guess we should sing a song now, huh? So when do I get my shill check? I know. I don't know who's paying my
you're
friends.
coming to Denver next weekend to come and hang out with me.
I
So
am.
why don't you go ahead and choose which song you're going to sing, and then when you're here next weekend and we go to the Natural History Museum,
Yes, we could do
maybe we can make a little
stuff.
mini short about that.
Yeah, we could. We could talk next Sunday for Science Sunday School, talk about Denver's Natural History Museum.
That would be awesome.
We could do that.
We totally could.
Link, post the link here, please. Yes. So, all right. So, Owen, let's see. What song should we sing? We should sing a song before we wrap it up here. Being a friend is song enough.
Well, you darn well know from
me.
personal experience that I can only sing Johnny Cash.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I would suggest you sing, and I hang out in the audience with everybody else.
I have just, I have sheet music right here.
That does not surprise me.
NASA. Okay, yeah. I just randomly used. Oh, here we go. How about this? How about right here? Rainbow Connection. Just for you.
Oh my gosh.
Vibrantly Brantley. I'm legit, man. I got sheet music and everything. Okay. You ready? I'm going to sing a little bit. Johnny Cash.
Let's hear this.
What if Johnny Cash sang the Rainbow Connection? That would have been amazing. He might
There's
have.
a good possibility he already has.
He might have, yeah.
Or had.
There's so many songs about rainbows and what's on the other side. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions, and rainbows have nothing to hide. You ready? So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. I know they're wrong, wait and see. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. There you go.
Nice.
Right there, Remember the frog.
Rainbow Connections.
Just for you, Vibrantly Brantley. Rainbow Connection. I just happen to have that sheet music right here. Next time it might be Paula Abdul. Don't get excited. Next time you might get Paula Abdul, man. You just might. God, when was this printed?
Make sure to use those super chats wisely.
Use those, yes. 1991 EMI April. 1991 in April, this was printed out. Good God. I'm going to go and cry myself to sleep at night at how old I am.
We all have our ageist issues.
Yeah. Dreams by the Cranberries. That you might get lucky and I pull that one next time. And I do have Phantom over
that's
here.
Such a shame that she passed away.
Oh, I know. Dolores.
She was such a beautiful singer. I mean, she really had an absolutely amazing voice.
She really did.
It is such a shame that just such a shame.
Gosh, we're going on almost 2 hours, dude. Oh, wait, no. We have not.
No, we're actually getting close.
We're at 1 hour and 13 minutes. So I guess we'll wrap it up.
Oh, that's right. We did start on a half hour.
We did start at 7:30. Rockin' 7:30.
We're going to be doing the half hour thing for this show, so I think that works.
Oh, come on, ScientistMel. Age is just in the mind. Yes, it is. It is. So I have lots of fun things around here. Somebody found these for me. I have like I think these are called mad balls or something. It's just like a big old giant eyeball. I see you. It's like,
And sorry, Bo, I was not singing along, so
yeah, he
that's why you
wasn't.
didn't hear me. Maybe next week on our second episode, I will sing along. And
Yes,
if that's going to be a thing that at the end of the episode we sing a song, then I'm all right with that. I just got to know ahead of time so I can learn it.
not 2 hours, an hour and 14 because we started at 7:30, not 7.
Yes.
I was wrong on that. So I do
It
admit
is
that
hard to
I'm wrong
remember starting on the
sometimes.
half hour.
I have I thought I had another ball around here or something, but I just missed it through it when I was doing a thing. Anyway,
Does Frodo have it?
no, I don't know. I have a stuffed Chewbacca. Don't quite know why I pulled this out right now.
It happens.
It happens. So next week on Sunday Science or Science Sunday School, Sunday Science School, however you
Yeah,
want to
so
say it.
what are we running with? Is it Sunday Science School? I mean, it's an amalgamation of both of our shows for your Patreons and what I've been doing for your ish.
Yes. I think I like Science Sunday School because it has a ring.
Science Sunday School.
Yeah, so it's not like the standard, not your average standard Sunday school. So
I'm good with that.
okay. So Science Sunday School. I'll see if I can talk to Peter and see if he can't brush up a logo a bit for us because he's really awesome. He does cool stuff like that.
That would be
for me,
awesome.
so.
Peter is absolutely amazing. He does a lot of off-air work for a lot of people.
He does.
Peter's awesome.
He is. He's really
if you haven't already subscribed to Gonna Go For It's channel, definitely take a look. Peter's amazing.
Yeah.
He does a lot of work for a lot of us in the skeptic community. He's a great guy. Definitely check him out.
Yes. Goodness. So, next week, we have Science Sunday School from the Denver Natural History Museum. So, I'll give it a full critique and let you know exactly what I think about it.
I'm really glad that you're coming out next weekend, but I almost kind of wish you waited until March because starting March 1st, we're going to have Da Vinci and all of his work until the end of August. But fear not, I will head back to the museum and I will take as many pictures as I'm allowed to before I get kicked out.
Okay.
And I will share that with everybody. But yes, good. We starting March 1st at the Denver Natural History Museum, we will be having a huge Da Vinci exhibit, and I can't wait. I was half tempted to say you should set off plans on coming out to Denver, but it wouldn't have done any good. They were made long before I knew this was happening. And
well, that's okay. Anyway, so next Mel's wearing footy pajamas and beating her was no, it's a Chewbacca. It's a stuffed Chewbacca. Oh my goodness, you guys! There are some people with different things on their brains. He even has a little tote bag, and it's Velcro, and you can put stuff in it. It's nice. Oh my goodness, some of you guys, man, for real. But hey, so that's pretty interesting. And if you're not already enjoying the dumpster fire in my mentions on Twitter, please do have a look at that, and see what that's like, because that's fun. Chewy. Yes, it is chewy.
Yes, nothing quite like Twitter dumpster fires.
They're so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness, they're so much fun. So,
you're going to have a lot of fun in Denver next weekend.
I am. It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
Do you want to do another Spirited Science while you're in town?
I'm trying to think.
That could be kind of neat. The last one was New Orleans. Maybe you could do Denver. And
I have to find out what's in Denver then, and I have to go ahead and start promoting that because I haven't even come up with a drink.
Okay, well, we already did Tesla, but, Tesla ended his career in Colorado Springs, which is a stone's throw away from Denver, so
Yeah.
maybe we could do a little bit more about.
We could we could do South Park.
Oh my God! Do you want me to take you? Do you want me to take you to actual South Park?
I'm just kidding.
You realize that's a quarry. It's not
Yeah.
actually a city. It's a
Yeah,
quarry.
it's a quarry. No, it's fine. Bo was
Like,
saying we could just go and visit Mr. Mackey and do an interview with him.
or you could come and hang out in Colorado, ignore all the bullshit lies about television that revolve around certain states.
Oh goodness. You swear a lot, Andy.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that gay sailors don't like the way that I talk.
What has that got to do with this?
I use a lot of profanities.
Okay.
I, I'm just saying, I use a lot of
Yeah.
profanities. My apologies.
This is a family show, Andy. Gosh. Think of the children. Think of the children.
I'm not on movie night. I'm not trying to think of the children.
I'm just kidding. No, no. Oh my goodness. So,
I was just saying if you wanted to take a look.
oh my goodness, you're just wrong. All right. So, next Sunday we have Science Sunday School Museum Edition, Natural History Museum Edition, where I'm going to go and critique the mess out of it. I'm gonna
You have to remember the museum I'm taking you to is the only museum in the entire United States that Israel felt comfortable sharing
yes.
all of. Oh my gosh, it was such an
All of
amazing
the Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
Yes,
Yes.
going like when your state is the only state in the U.S. that is able to host that, thank you, basically NORAD and
Yeah, yeah.
the fact that we have more post-grad degree people here than anywhere else.
Okay.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is
I mean,
pretty awesome.
you remember when we were at the National World War II Museum in New Orleans, and you were
Yes.
90 feet up on a skywalk,
Yes.
and you were looking down at a B-17 going, oh my God, I need to get the hell off this.
Yes.
I was there with you.
Hmm.
Most of our exhibits start on the 4th floor.
Yeah, so I don't do so well with heights.
I know, but
I
that's
walked
where they
across the
start.
bridge and clung to the wall.
You did
I
great.
did. I walked
You did
across the
absolutely
bridge.
phenomenal.
Vertigo full on, man. Thought I was going to fall off the side and die, so I went and held the wall.
No, you did absolutely great. And most of our exhibits start on the 4th floor
Oh,
of
goodness.
the Natural History Museum.
Man.
And when I went and saw the Dead Sea Scrolls, that's how it all started. It was like, walk up to the 4th floor,
Man.
go and meet 100 people that you don't know,
See,
hang out with them for a couple of hours, and
gosh.
it was absolutely amazing.
See, and here's where I can just say, I've been to London. I've seen the Magna Carta at the British Library. I also have seen Yesterday written out on a napkin by Paul McCartney and John Lennon at a restaurant. They wrote it out, and it was like right there. And
Nice.
I went to the Natural History Museum, my favorite place in the world. I actually, they don't have Wi-Fi there. So last time I was in London, I actually streamed live while I was at the Science Museum. So if you haven't checked that out, you should totally check that out.
All right, so I have a question for you.
Okay, we got to wrap up soon.
I know we got to wrap up soon, but I do have a question for you.
Okay.
When are you and I going to go to, like, the Smithsonian National Air and Space or any of the Smithsonian's on the mall?
You mean Washington?
Yes,
Like DC?
almost all of my family is on the Beltway.
Oh, okay. I've
I
been to the
have
aerospace
a
one.
tremendous number of places to stay along the Beltway when it comes to families. So
Ah.
that
Well,
is a museum circuit that we have not done yet. While we have hit a lot of museums, we have not done a Smithsonian circuit.
we haven't, but I have been to the aerospace one.
Aerospace is pretty goddamn good. It's definitely
Language.
my favorite.
Language. Darth Vader.
Okay. Okay, language.
Andy and I hang out a lot. We hang out a lot. We hang out a lot and do lots of fun stuff, so it's cool. So,
Especially
cool.
the museum tours. Those are a lot of
those
fun.
are a lot of fun.
There's just something to be said about going to a museum with a good friend.
Yes, it's awesome. It's really cool.
So much fun.
He's like the engineer person, and I'm like the more theory person, and so we're just like, oh my gosh, this, and you're like, oh wow, this, and so we learn a lot of things from each other, so it's really cool. It's really cool. We learn a lot of stuff from each other. Well, we're at just about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it is probably getting about that time, and it is Sunday, so.
It is Sunday. It's a school night.
Don't want to stay up too late.
School night, work tomorrow,
yes.
Doing things. But this was an awesome first episode of Science Sunday School where we talked about the measles outbreak, vaccination in the hot anti-vaxxer spot in Clark County's up to 78% vaccinated, which is really good. Needs to get to 90. Keep going, guys.
Right.
We talked about the HIV vaccine. We also talked about the Mayora vaccine. There's a DNA vaccine coming up with that, which is amazing. We've talked about a study associated with how we can get the vaccine hesitant to hop on board and do vaccination through being a parent advocate for vaccines. So there's the immunity community. Google that and check it out. And we talked about the flu vaccine and all of the statistics associated that with a cool groovy site known as the CDC. Check out all their fun stuff. And we talked about next Sunday will be Science Sunday School of the Natural History Museum, Denver version.
Yes.
It'll be awesome. It'll be really cool. You actually missed it.
Unfortunately, if you were coming into town a week and a half after, there is going to be an absolutely phenomenal exhibit at the Natural History Museum.
You told us Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes, all about Leonardo da Vinci. So
yeah.
Well, we won't be able to do that while you're in town. I'm still going to sit down and I'm going to go to that.
And that'll be cool. And we'll incorporate that into the show.
Yes. Yes.
Yay!
Absolutely.
And I'll see if I can rework the way that this is set up as it is. I just threw this together.
I wish I could have taken pictures of the religious thing I'm not good with religion. I'm sorry, guys.
It's okay. Dead Sea Scrolls.
Dead Sea Scrolls. If I was allowed to take pictures at the Dead Sea Scrolls exhibit.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
Dead Sea Scrolls. If I would have been allowed to have taken pictures and shared them, I absolutely would.
That's
but
cool.
It was a zero photography exhibit.
Yeah, that's a shame.
We were the only museum that Israel was willing to share actual Dead Sea Scrolls with.
Yes.
So, sometimes you just got to go to the museum.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy would have remembered faster if he could have swore. Yeah, probably. Well, thank you, Owen. It was nice to have you here.
Yes, I have a bad mouth. I understand.
Just put some soap in it. You're going to get you, And remember, guys, Andy can be bought. If you want to know how to buy Andy, message me. And if there's something you'd like us to talk about on Science Sunday School, we're all about bringing the latest and greatest in new things in science news. So
absolutely, and as well, when it comes to hanging out and having a beverage and talking about science, don't forget about Spirited Sciences.
Yes,
Spirited Science, where I'm also a co-host for Mel. And if you have a favorite intellectual mind in the world of science that you want to have a conversation with, don't hesitate to Twitter me or hit me up elsewhere so that maybe we can make that a part of the show.
That'd be great, because I do want to incorporate people who are not science savvy and get them involved in spiritual science as well. So
absolutely.
I guess we should sign off. We're at like a flat hour and a half now, man. This has been pretty cool. And you guys have been
This
awesome
has
hanging
been
out
pretty
with
cool,
us. So.
and thanks everybody for joining us for this. That's really awesome.
Yes. And so we'll see you. I'll see you. I don't know if I'm doing the science of next Saturday because
well, you're gonna be in Denver with me next
and we'll
weekend,
be going.
and
maybe I can live stream a little bit at the museum. So I might just hit you up a bit with that. So
that works for me.
Thank you guys for being here for the first technical episode of Science Sunday School with me and Andy. And we will see you guys next Sunday, 7:30 Central Time. And I guess we'll see you next time. Have a great Sunday.
Sounds good to me. Have a great weekend, everybody. Or end of the weekend. Great weekend.
Bye.
I'm not sure if you're playing your X